Damn.
Ooh, let that smack. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing great. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another amazing nursing debriefment here in a wonderful state of California. What's poppin'?
We're happy to be here. We just wrapped up first week as orientated nurses in San Diego. We have been on our own. It's been quite a journey getting transferred to different healthcare systems, and the transition on this one was rough. A lot of onboarding, and you can only imagine orientation was just as rough, figuring out where charting is, what they wanted, because this healthcare system is very meticulous about charting.
It feels it's always very interesting when you get off orientation. And it's always a little bit nerve wracking, even though, you've orientated with the nurse for 2 days or whatever, you shadowed her, you think you got the systems down, but now you almost feel like you don't have that cushion to fall back on. But the thing is, you always do, because there's always nurses that are on the unit that are knowledgeable, especially in like a facility that has travel nurses, and a lot of them, everyone's always willing to help. Everyone's always willing to answer your questions and help you with whatever you have to do. But there's always that little bit of that nervousness that it's like, oh, it's my first day alone on the unit.
Different experience.
Yeah, because you don't have anybody that is literally almost like you could say holding your hand. Because now, instead of your instructor always being by you or always sitting on your computer reviewing charting or in the patient's room, now you kind of have to figure out how everybody is on the unit, who's available for you to ask questions, because you're slowly going to figure out what nurse is helpful, what nurse isn't really helpful, and kind of who you should kind of hang around with more than you shouldn't. It's a cool experience, but it's always a nerve-wracking. You're right. It's fun. Can't beat it. It's fun.
And what's crazy about this one is just how flat out they're very blunt sharpshooters. If a patient falls on your watch, you're going to get fired. Caught us off surprise, but it seems very cushiony. The staff know how it is. You just got to do what you got to do and show up and do your work. So honestly, when it comes to the charting system, that's the biggest learning curve from Meditech to Epic again, and having to chart so often. In Meditech, we basically charted one assessment, all said and done. Here, you're going over so many things. You're charting Q1 safeties. You're charting Q4 pains and little things that are so much more meticulous. And it's honestly just a higher workload as far as not patient care, but just chart care, which is very tedious. I'd rather just hang out with patients and get to know them.
I ask a lot of questions on orientation when shadowing. So it was funny because the first thing, like I said on the previous episodes and just in general when we do these debriefings and on the gram and stuff, is you want to always ask a lot of questions and try to nail down a charting right off the bat. It's very important. So the nurse that was orientating me, I was asking her so much questions about Epic on when do I chart this, because I know the facility that we're working at, from Matt's past experience, is that they're very meticulous and particular on charting. So it's very important for you to get the charting down. So I knew that coming in. So I was asking not my instructor, but the person that was orientating me, a lot of questions. So she noticed that, and I think she knew how to answer them all correctly, except I think she was just trying to make it simpler for me, so I maybe would remember, because maybe, people know that's a lot of charting. So she actually created like a little document for me, a little cheat sheet on when I should chart when. So she wrote down what do I have to chart hourly, Q4, Q2, Q8, and every shift. Because I kept asking her, hey, okay, so now what if this happens? What do we got to do this? Now if this changes, how do we chart it? Because I know moving forward, it's the ICU, so things can change very quickly. And it's always a pain in the ass trying to figure out where to chart it, how to chart it, especially because when things do go down in ICU, the first thing that falls behind is a charting. So you're always trying to catch up, and it's like always a pain in the ass when you're staying over. Let's say it's like 8 o'clock and trying to get your charting down and trying to figure out where do I chart this, where do I chart that. So she kind of felt that vibe off me, where I want to kind of prepare for what's going to happen. So she literally created me a document and wrote when do I got to chart what, and what's actually important, what I could not worry about. Some of the stuff that's you should, but it's not mandatory. So she gave me that, and I think that's a good recommendation for everybody that's a travel nurse, is to really get down your charting and even create yourself a cheat sheet. Especially me, because I am kind of forgetful sometimes, so this is easy for me to look back on. But I feel like I got this memorized, and it's always something good to fall back on. Or even let's just say you have like another travel nurse coming on your unit, and you're like kind of like a senior traveler. You could say you've been there for like 2 months already, and they're asking you questions. You could be like, oh, hey, so this nurse actually created me this kind of cheat sheet. I'll scan it for you, a copy for you. I know it could be a lot to handle, and I might not be always available for you, so I'll make this copy for you. That way, you can look at it first and then ask me the question in case everyone's busy running around. So it's very nice. I'm very thankful that she did this, and it's the first time anyone has ever done this, and I feel like I'm gonna have them do this for me every time moving forward.
And when you're like on a physical level and doing things around the unit as well, there's also things that management checks, or the charge nurses, which adds on to the charting. They also have like these medication side effects pamphlets with your patient, and you always need to sign off everything you're reviewing with the patient. There's the plan of cares, which is something we didn't do in Austin. That's another meticulous thing. There's this document with like 15 questions that you have to fill out about the patient. So you have to ask those questions to get to know how the patient is. For example, things that you should know about me. I'm the happiest when. My favorite music book is. My favorite food. My career. It was. And you get to relate with the patient a little bit more. So it's kind of cool that they're creating this patient experience, and they're super big on it, and they're big on compassion. So even though everything is so meticulous, I believe comparing like Texas to Cali, the patient care is really there, which is great, because that's ultimately what creates satisfaction for them.
And that is all from those very nice California ratios. And California really sets the example for ratios and how nursing should be all around the country. Because any state that you think of, if you compare it to California always wins. It's not the best, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of flaws, a lot of areas to fix, a lot of things you could still do, but it's definitely a step up from everywhere else in the country. It's good stuff. They do good care. Even when we were in Santa Monica, patient care was amazing. We're not saying that Austin hospitals are shitty or are bad, but it just shows you how nursing performance increases when there is a less stressed staff and more resources and just more staff in general. 100%. You could for sure tell a difference.
Yeah.
When I'm not saying it's night and day. It's more of like a cloudy day and like a nice day.
And I'm already loving my breaks where I really want to get everything done, but I'm like, okay, they're going to cover me. I'll go take my 30 minutes, 45 minutes they've been giving me. Even one shift at whole hour just to group it up. And it's like there's a little patio thing. You go outside, get some fresh air, hang out, and then you come back refreshed. You go back into the stress and finish your shift. So really, it does make a huge difference, which is nice. So even though we're on night shift, it's laid back. Cali nursing, can't complain. I was on a tele floor the last shift, and I had 3 patients on a tele floor. No complaints.
Yep. Overall orientation was great. If I was to give a rating, let's go 0 out of 10. The onboarding, so like the in-class stuff, that was a little bit of a pain in the butt. So I'll give that like a 7, because at least we got paid for it and we got all our basically hours of the first week of work, which why I gave it a 7. In-house, on-unit orientating, I give it a 10 out of 10. It was clutch. Everyone's so smart and helpful.
That just reminded me, we did 6 hours of modules that we didn't get paid for.
Outside of work, yeah.
Outside of work. So our recruiter actually has to pay us for that, because this onboarding, it took over 6 hours probably to get all that done. We didn't get that on the paycheck.
Yep. Gonna bring it
Shout
up.
out to the debriefing, so it helped us remind us. Anyways.
So next time you see us, man, I'm gonna have some change, golden change from our 6 hours paid right now.
Right.
But yeah, overall
modules.
orientation, overall orientation was great. So that was nice. And then so technically we had 1 shift by ourselves, because we work 3 shifts a week. We had 2 days of orientation with a nurse where we shadowed, and the 3rd day we were on our own. And it was funny because I knew coming in that I'd probably get floated a lot, and Matt knew coming in that we're gonna get floated a lot. So he warned me on that one. Thank you for the warning. My first day off orientation, I got floated to a different unit. So it's even a little more stressful, because not only is your first day off, you're also in a different unit that you never oriented on. We did a scavenger hunt, but it's a scavenger hunt, guys. Like, yeah, you find everything on the list and you get the list done and you kind of familiarize yourself with the unit, but you go home for the weekend and you kind of forgot where everything is, and each unit varies. So it's like, try memorizing like 10 units. It's hard to memorize it. You're obviously gonna forget.
Yeah, and I got floated to a different hospital on the first day, not even in the same one.
Double whammy.
That policy of floating, they don't give a S. We're basically like a giant float pool. And that's something that's also we're struggling as a travel nursing duo, is our schedule is completely messed up. They didn't care about it, which sucks. Other travel nurses are feeling the same way. So we're literally creating a group chat and trying to organize and align our schedules. And
it's tough. It's tough because, and even talking to other travelers, like Matt said, their schedule got messed up, but a lot of them didn't even get approved for their time off, which is rough. And I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that didn't get approved. So it just shows you almost how the people that we work for, they don't really take it into consideration. And it's just like, it's the first time that Matt and I don't have the same schedule, because if you think about it, if you are a scheduler or a manager, at least from my viewpoint, because we have some experience on this, because Matt and I have some VAs, so we got to plan accordingly for some people. So we got to accommodate for things, right? So, and we're compassionate people and we're caring and we understand. So all the other hospitals that we've worked at so far, they are able to pair us together on a schedule. Why? Because Matt and I are not the only travelers there. So if a unit has 6 travelers, 8 travelers, guess what? You're going to have 2 or 3 travelers on a shift, basically a day. So you could accommodate, if you really wanted to, take a few extra minutes out of your day just to maybe pair up 2 travelers that you know that are working together. You could do that easily because you have 8 travelers, and there's a lot of travelers here. If you have 8 travelers, you're guaranteed to have at least 2 travelers on each shift. Guaranteed, hands down.
So we're going to reach out to our manager, stay tuned on what's going to happen, but they can make it happen if they put in the effort.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating because it would ultimately impact on how we deliver our care, because we know that we're being cared for and then we're not disposable. Because as travelers, we know that we're entering a foreign unit and we're not part of the staff cohesiveness. We got to work our way in there, and people know we're not there for the long term. So it's a little more difficult for us to, you could say, make friends and have an honest relationship with them, because at the end, everyone knows we're leaving. It's like a relationship. If you're going into a relationship, say you're dating a girl and she's gonna leave in 3 months, no matter what, maybe she might extend for another 3 months, so maybe you have 6 months with her. Are you gonna think about a year down the line, in the future, you're gonna devote that much time? Probably not. So it's kind of the perspective of a traveler. Each unit's like this. It sucks. It is what it is. We thrive in adversity. We move on. But it's nice when people accommodate for us, because we're like, okay, now I don't have to worry about changing on my outside of work schedule just to accommodate for this. Because think about it, nurses only work 3 days a week. There's 7 days in the week. It's accommodatable, it's doable. You just have to take a little bit of initiative and maybe a little bit of discomfort. But in this case, a lot of travelers, it should be not a big issue to do.
Yeah, and another thing we have to figure out is, because we float to different hospitals, what if the same day Peter and I work, we have to go to a different hospital? So I have to pay for an Uber back and forth, or Peter has to drop me off, take me there again.
Yeah.
Huge inconvenience, especially if we're working back to back. You have only 12 hours. There's no time to pick each other up from different hospitals. So a lot of up in the air, versus some healthcare systems are more accommodating to their travelers. But those are little kinks, and that's just the name of the game, adversity, right? We're gonna get it down.
A lot of stress could be eliminated on the nursing end with a minimal amount of work on the management side. And this kind of shows you why people leave staffing jobs, because if it takes a little bit of accommodation to satisfy somebody, to satisfy a great amount of people, and you don't see management doing that or taking that initiative, when you know and everyone knows that this little effort could lead to a great amount of good, they're not doing that, that leads to burnout, that leads to frustration, and this is why people are leaving staff jobs, because we know what has to be changed, no one's listening to us, and we know small changes can make big differences, and it kind of is what it is. Well, we're travel nurses, baby. Woo!
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, guys. Hope you guys enjoy these debriefings. We'll let you guys know what happens on the next one, how the patient care is, and how travel nursing is.
See you guys.
Peace.